Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Claire Johnson, President of Mystery Writers of America, Northern California chapter. Let me introduce our guest speaker today. Margaret Dumas is the author of the movie Palace Mysteries, set in a fictional movie theater that looks an awful lot like the Vogue in San Francisco. She is also the author of Speak Now and How to Succeed in Murder from Poison Pen Press, and the rom-com The Balanced Thing from HarperCollins. Margaret is also a technical writer in Silicon Valley who has worked at a couple of companies you might have heard of. And she's often said that she began writing mystery as an outlet for her fantasies around murdering software engineers, something we can all relate to. There's often a tech angle in her books, and she really wanted to explore the latest in generative tech AI with her mystery writing colleagues. Today, we're going to talk about generative AI and words, how it works, tools you might find useful, and how to protect your own writing. This is the second in the series on generative AI that Margaret has generously put together for us. Take it away, Margaret.
Hello. Thanks everybody for showing up on a lovely Saturday afternoon. I appreciate it. And yeah, what Claire said about you guys joining in, I would love it if you just, I'm going to be going through a lot of stuff, and I would love it if you just call out your questions and maybe we can experiment together on the fly with, because I don't know everything. So if you ask me something, maybe we'll just test it out and find out together. And on that subject, I am not an expert. I have to deal with some of this stuff in my day job, and I find it fascinating as a writer and as someone who cares about creative content and the rights of people who make content. So I'm interested in this, but please don't think that what I say here is the last word on anything, because A, I'm just figuring out as we go along, and B, it changes all the time. And it's going to be changing. There are so many AI startups now. I went down 101 the other day, and I saw two buildings that were new AI companies, both of which just had banners on the building. They didn't even have like signs up yet. They just had like cloth banners because they were so new. And I think there are going to be a lot of companies that come and go and get acquired. And so one of the things we're going to be talking a lot about today is privacy and protecting your content. And I'm going to probably say it 15,000 times, read the privacy policies and keep reading the privacy policies of anything you use, because every company they acquire, every merger, there's the potential for the privacy policies to change, or just, it's Tuesday, so the privacy policies are going to change. So you need to stay on top of that if you're going to be using these tools. Okay, that's the first warning. Let me start sharing slides. There we go. Why, oh, why, oh, why? Okay, can we all see?
Yes. Yep.
Great. So we did this last month. We did an overview, but I don't know if any of you were there last month. It looks like all new faces. Yay.
No,
You were here? Hey, Janice. Oh, sorry.
Janice and Caroline.
Oh, yeah. Janice and Caroline, you were there. Okay, sorry. Apologies. Well, I'm going to ask the same question of a show of hands or your little hand icon on Zoom. Who thinks it's a cause of existential panic? Generative AI. Are we panicked about it? Do we think it's going to destroy writing? Okay, couple. And who thinks it's going to be really handy tools? Okay, cool. Yeah, I think a little bit of both. And I think there's room for both of those perspectives in the discussion. So what we're going to do today is we're going to talk. I'm really trying hard not to lecture you. This is going to be a little bit data heavy when we get into protections and legislation and copyright and IP and all of that sort of stuff. But please chime in with your thoughts, opinions, questions at any time. And we're exploring. I'm going to be showing you a bunch of different tools, one of which I just found out about in the last session. That is now, I think, maybe my favorite. So we're going to be exploring, we're going to be hands-on with a couple of different tools. I'm not endorsing anything. MWA is not endorsing anything. We're just seeing what's out there, and hopefully a safe sandbox. And we're not going to get overwhelmed because there is a lot. So we're going at our own pace. If I tend to talk fast, because I don't like speaking publicly. So slow me down. If I'm rushing over something, or if I just blow past something, let me know. Okay. Let's see. I have a paper copy with my notes on. Let me make sure. Okay. So, a lot of what we're going to be going through today is privacy issues, intellectual property, copyright law, legislation that's pending. And I already told you, read your privacy policy. Do you guys know who John Oliver is? The comedian John Oliver. He has that show Last Week Tonight.
Yeah.
He said something once that I thought was so hilarious and so true, which was, corporations know that when you want to do something truly evil, you hide it in something truly boring. So that is why it's important to read your privacy policies, because that's where the evil lies. That's where you can find out what they are claiming ownership of or access to. Okay, so let's see. But first, before we get into all of that stuff, let's have some fun first. Let's say, why do we care about all of this? What's in it for us? Why are we even thinking about using this? And for that, let's do a little experiment. I'm gonna use, let's see, I'm gonna use, in this whole all day long, we're going to be talking about Agatha Christie and the Mysterious Affair at Styles, because it's public domain and I downloaded it. And so it's safe to, it's already been scraped by every single large language model that's out there. So, so let's just do this. Okay, I'm going to, whoops, I think Zoom has changed how it's doing sharing, because stuff that worked last week is not working. I thought I could just switch. Anyway, let me find, okay, my browser, and let's put that prompt in. In ChatGPT. Whoops, let's not do it twice. You are Agatha Christie. We talked last time about assigning a persona during the prompt, and that's you are Agatha Christie. That's giving the AI a persona, and then the prompt telling it what to do, giving it instructions. So, all right, that's really darn fast.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons it's so fast is that this book has been probably accessed in the tens of thousands of times. It's in its memory so much, because it is such a it's a classic book. It's a very well-known book, and it's everywhere on the internet because it's public domain. So it's just going ahead. Okay, there you go. There is a short story with the characters that are in. Now, I'm not going to read it, but I can see that sounds a little Agatha Christie. Something's going on here. Okay, we don't have to read it, but just to say, gosh, that went well. Now, if I want to go back to a different prompt, let's try something that isn't as well known. Hi. My first novel was called Speak Now. Let's see what it gets us when I give it the persona of Margaret Dumas and the prompt to write a short story with characters from Speak Now. Oh, wow. It didn't yesterday. Yesterday it told me it didn't know enough about Margaret Dumas. It said Margaret Dumas has published several novels, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Okay, it's not his fiance, it's his husband. It's her husband. Okay. Nick and Nora Charles. Interesting. That's so interesting. Okay, in the book, they are not named Nick and Nora. But it has a Nick and Nora vibe to it. So a lot of the reviews talked about Nick and Nora Charles.
Oh.
And apparently the AI has found that out. Owning a mystery themed bookstore, they do not. Oh, okay, but this is a short story based on the characters. I don't know. Anyway, this is interesting. I'm very excited. Sorry, I'm very excited because it did something. Okay. So anyway, does anybody want to try anything else?
No, but I just tried this with my own name and Claude yesterday.
Yeah.
So I asked Claude if it knew who Janice Peacock was, and was surprised to find out that Claude did know who I was.
Yay!
And then I said, will you write a story in the style of Janice Peacock? And it said, no, I will not, because that would be infringing on Janice's copyright.
See, okay.
And then, no, but then the plot thickens. Then I said, oh, well, I am Janice Peacock, so it's cool. And Claude said, no, it's not cool. I'm not going to do that for you.
Fascinating.
But then Claude said, but I will write you a cozy mystery with some of the things that Janice Peacock is known for, like first person and witty dialogue and quirky characters. Would you like me to do that?
Ah,
It's been very intriguing.
Now, are you the one who told us about Claude in the last meeting?
Yes.
Thank you so much, because I'm loving it. It is now, I actually bought the pro version of it, subscribed to the pro version of it, because I think it has so much more respect for writers and because I've noticed a lot of those disclaimers. No, I'm not going to do this. And this is copyrighted, so I can't do that. So yeah, Claude is let me try it in Claude now.
I just did.
Oh, did you? And
I did. Let me tell you what it said. Let me find it again. Because I was, busy typing it in. It basically says, as Agatha Christie, I will craft a short original story inspired by the characters from the Mysterious Affairs as Styles without reproducing any copyrighted material. And then it goes in, it starts, and it says the Hastings Dilemma, blah, blah, blah. So, it wrote maybe, it was very short. It wrote maybe 400 or 500 words.
Interesting. Okay.
But yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, you could go ahead and see what it does for you.
Well, since I already put it in my cut and paste. It would involve using copyright materials, but I'm happy to help you create an original short story with new characters.
So you're using, I just want to check, you're using Claude 3.5. I don't want to get in the weeds here with you, but I want to check the version that
Claude
you're using.
3.5 Sonnet.
Because yeah, that's what I'm using. Weird. I thought maybe we were using different versions. It just likes me better.
Well, maybe you're more famous and it has more stuff in it.
I doubt that seriously. I've been using it a lot lately, so maybe it just feels like it has a relationship with me. I don't know.
It feels like it has a relationship with you.
I've been trying to not call it he, because that feels like it personifies it a little too much.
Or Hal. 2001 Space Odyssey.
That's right.
Yes.
Okay. Well, okay. So that was fun. And
so Claude actually has some scruples and ChatGPT does not.
I don't want to say that it has none, but it has fewer.
Fewer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so let's get into it. Here. Oh, this was just an interesting thing. There's an author named Curtis Sittenfeld, and she wrote an op-ed in the Times asking readers to vote on story elements, and then she was going to write a short story, and ChatGPT was going to write a short story. And this all happened in June, and I voted on the story elements, and it was going to be Team Human versus ChatGPT, same set of story elements, same parameter on length. and ChatGPT will be told to write in Sittenfeld style. And when they're done, which they said would be end of summer, so I don't know when that's going to be, they're going to publish both blind, and we'll have to try to figure out who wrote the human one. So I just thought that was really interesting. And I really, really hope the human one wins. So just something to keep an eye on. Let's see what is happening. Last time we talked, Claire and Steve Hawkinsmith was here, and I think you guys both agreed that nonfiction writers were going to be hit by AI sooner than fiction writers. And in just a cursory glance at the news, I think you guys are right. There was this story in June. There's an academic publisher called Taylor and Francis in the UK, and they sold all of its content for $10 million. They did not tell their authors. Their authors were not given the opportunity to opt out then, and they are not given the opportunity. If they are under contract with Taylor and Francis for their next book, they have to deliver their next book knowing it is going to feed Microsoft's AI and ultimately put them out of business. And there's nothing they can do about it. So we're getting to the depressing part of the discussion today. So if you've got a cup of tea, now might be the time. You'll need a little caffeine.
Well, I don't understand this, Margaret, because then, I mean, I know in the scientific world, there's been a big brouhaha between people who, academics who want to post their material online for free just to disseminate information, because, you know, they're not making any money off of these. I mean, the journals are not paying them to write these articles, right? Their submissions refereed by their peers and then either rejected or posted. But as I am in, and then they got into some sort of big copyright brouhaha, but I ultimately thought that the copyright rested with the author. Am I wrong about that?
I don't know in this case. I don't know if it's what the terms of the contract between the author and this publisher are, and who
because this, if Taylor and Francis is doing this, and they're a big academic publisher, if they're doing this, then people are going to stop submitting. I mean, that's why I guess, you know, this is your last book, you have to submit to us. But basically, you know, people will say, wait a minute, they're just going to stop submitting to them because everybody can post their stuff online now.
Yeah, which raises the question, does Taylor and Francis think that they're going out of business anyway? So get $10 million now.
Yeah, because I find this, I mean, there was actually a big fight between Berkeley, UC Berkeley, and John Wiley, which is the biggest scientific publisher in Europe, right? They own something like 150 journals, crazy. And they wanted to up their subscription levels yet again. And the Berkeley library system said no. And they stopped carrying, and this went on for something like 10 months. And Berkeley stopped carrying their journals. But, you know, for a big university system, that's huge, right? And finally Wiley backed down. But if you've got this scenario, then it's moot, right? If Wiley sells all their material, and we're talking decades, you know, I just don't see people submitting. And then the whole entire tenure process falls apart, because if you publish or perish, right, you have to publish or referee journals. I don't know how the universities are facing this, because that's the big thing about tenure.
Yeah.
You know, publish or perish.
Yeah, that's a really interesting wrinkle on it.
Yeah. Okay, sorry, go on.
No, this is great. This is great. The next thing, I think we all know Jane Friedman. I've taken classes from her. Well, she found out back in August that 6 books under her name had shown up on Amazon, and she did not write them. They were written by AI. So she got in touch with Amazon and said, take these down, they're frauds. And Amazon said, no, It's not our policy to take these down. And it was only because she has so much sway in the publishing business, according to Amazon's statement about it, because of Friedman's stature, they're taking them down. So if I wanted to have something taken down, I don't think that Amazon would return my phone call. So that's something that had never even occurred to me. You know, it occurred to me that people would scrape her work and publish their own How to Build Your Brand as an Author, but it didn't occur to me that they would publish that under her name without her knowledge or consent. So that's something else to be worried about. But like I said, particularly it seems to be hitting the nonfiction writers particularly hard right now. So that raised the question, so who's suing? Who is suing publishers? What's going on in the courts? So a big one is the Authors Guild with 17 authors, every name of which you would recognize, filed a class action suit against OpenAI, the makers of ChatGPT, for copyright infringement on behalf of a class of fiction writers whose works have been used to train GPT. That's the important part. They did it not just from themselves, but on behalf of a class of fiction writers that we all fit into. So in February, 4 of the 6 claims were dismissed, but the core claim still remains active. And because we are all, there are other class action suits going on against OpenAI, Meta, Google, and because we are all in this class, our work is affected by this. We don't need to be a named plaintiff. If there is an outcome in favor of authors, we as authors will benefit from that, because it will clarify that books need to be licensed when used to train generative AI. So if your book is going to be gobbled up, they need to get a license to your book before they can gobble it, which assumes they haven't gobbled it already. And we'll get into that in a minute. So if you have a publisher, if you're not indie published, I would talk to your publisher about whether they're part of any of these lawsuits, and they're participating in any of the class action suits.
But Margaret, does the publisher own the license? Can the publisher sell your book to OpenAI?
I don't know. I don't know. It appears they could in that case in the UK. I don't know what contracts say about it. I don't know if contracts need to be really. I mean, Claire just sold a book. You've just sold a book. You've got a contract. Is there anything in that contract that's only a couple of weeks old about AI licensing?
There is okay, you know, read the small print. There is a paragraph in there about AI, but and it basically says don't scrape, but I don't know if it says anything about we have the right to sell the license for scraping. I'd have to go back and look at it, which I will do as soon as this Zoom ends.
Yeah. And you know,
Yeah.
for any of you who have agents, that might be something to bring up with your agent of, can we get it explicitly in the contract?
Yeah.
No, it's I own the license if that's going to be scraped.
Right.
Yeah. So the laws are not caught up to everything that's going on now, but there is a ton of pending legislation. This is just a small sampling of what's in discussion right now. None of these have been signed yet. Some of them have a better chance than the others. Most of the legislation that I could find, and I did not do an exhaustive search, but most of what I found was about control of the companies, the technology, the market sector. It seems much more interested in preventing someone from using AI to build a bomb, or to overthrow a government, than it is in protecting authors' rights. There's one thing, the Take It Down Act down here, which I hope it passes, criminalizes the publication of non-consensual intimate imagery, including certain AI-generated deepfakes. I think we've all read the stories about high school kids putting their classmates' faces on porn, and requires social media platforms to remove such content. So this is the only one that's really getting into content, but I don't think it helps us that much. So then I started looking at, okay, well, what does copyright law say? There was something in 2022 that proposed creating a new framework for copyright, focusing on preventing content creators from generative technology. There was a big debate about balancing how to protect creators' rights with still allowing corporations to innovate in AI. The bill did not pass. They came down on the side of allowing corporations to continue to innovate in AI. So that was one that didn't make it, but there's one now that competes, and all of these, it's all stupid acronyms. So competes, every letter in that stands for something that comes up to something stupid. Sorry, I used I used to work for the government, and I have very low tolerance for the acronym, the cutesy acronyms. Anyway, this one includes provisions related to intellectual property, supports research that could influence future legislation regarding the protection of it. So maybe this isn't what's going to protect it, but this could fund some research leading to it being protected, and even this hasn't passed yet. So I would not look to legislation in the meantime, I mean, in the near term for any protections. So what does current copyright law say? We talked about this a little bit last week, or last month. And the news there is good, because you can read it all yourselves. I don't know if it's big enough, but it looks to whether the work is one of human authorship with the computer being an assist to it, or whether the authorship were actually conceived and executed by a man. Hello, I would rather it said a human, or a machine. If a work's elements of authorship are produced by a machine, the guidance makes it clear that the work lacks human authorship and cannot be registered. And as we talked about last time, major publishers are not going to be willing to invest in something that they can't copyright. So major publishers are likely to be staying away from AI for the time being. We talked last week about how, like, there might be a whole new class of just AI publishers that their brand is we're doing AI stuff, and that could certainly still happen. But the copyright thing is something that is very much in our favor right now as humans, as human authors. Yeah.
So Margaret, I have a question about audiobooks. So does the same copyright protections cover audiobooks? I mean, if a publisher didn't want to give up the copyright, but they wanted to produce an audiobook with you've been working on generative AI narrators. I mean, I don't know anything about copyright. I should, but so would that also protect an audiobook's narrator?
I believe the performance is separate from the content. So I believe the content would still be protected, but the performance by a machine would not be, that gets into the SAG-AFTRA stuff. That's protected by a different group of organizations.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
So they could have an AI narrator.
Yes.
But,
and HarperCollins just did a major deal with an AI, what's it called? 11 something. To that they are going to use that AI company to do audiobooks for this whole group of books in translation that they've got. So they said, it's just this particular niche of their their work. But also, HarperCollins just announced that audiobooks have outsold ebooks last year.
Mm.
So audiobooks are getting bigger, and I think there's going to be more attention paid to it, and audiobooks getting bigger at a time when AI makes producing them fast and cheap says to me that a lot is going to be happening in this space. So there, did that answer your question at all?
Yeah.
I mean, I
Yes.
should have started it out by saying, I don't know, but I think, or I guess, or I would imagine. Because I don't know. Okay. So who's protecting writers? I did a little bit of looking around in the groups that I belong to. And the Authors Guild is clearly the one who is taking this seriously and running with it. They have a statement, they have several statements of this is our position. They are doing advocacy, they are class action suits, they're working on litigation, they're working on legislation, and they are doing research into the impact this is all taking. The National Writers Union that I used to belong to has a statement, but nothing much else. MWA has nothing. MWA, if you search for AI, generative AI, or artificial intelligence, whoops, lost my, I didn't have a closing quote on there. See, I didn't run this by AI to get proofread. Nothing about it on MWA national site. Sisters in Crime has co-signed on an open letter, so they've sort of made a statement, and they've been doing some webinars and postings on national, and there's actually they're doing an event coming up. Let me switch my screen share back to this, which seems I'm definitely going to sign up for this. Protecting your to the robots are coming. So on September 10th, I think this looks like it could be a really interesting webinar that Sisters in Crime is doing. Oh, in the evening. Interesting. Well, evening Eastern. So but that's it. I mean, there's not a lot aside from the Authors Guild, but the Authors Guild has a ton of stuff. I'll provide some links in the chat later on to their guidelines and their statements and their policies and their positions. And okay, anyway, we're getting close to.
Just a quick question about the Authors Guild. So it sounds like if one were to join a group, one would want to join the Authors Guild.
I joined the Authors Guild 2 days ago. Yep. When I did this chart, I joined the Authors Guild.
Yeah, it's pretty compelling. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And you have to be published with a publisher they recognize, or if you're indie published, you have to have X number of books sold to join Authors Guild. Okay, so is it too late? You know, we talked a little bit a minute ago about how to protect your books, but what do we even know if ours have already been scraped? And there are a couple of ways. I mean, I would say generally assume yes if your books have been out for a while. But there are a couple of ways. The site Books3 is a major piracy site. And it was all over the news months ago that if your book was on Books3, yes, it has been scraped by AI. And at that time, there was an article in Atlantic Monthly, and they had a link to, you can search Books3 to find your stuff. And I looked and my books were all on there. So my books had all been pirated and were on there. So I know that they've been scraped. That link, I would have given it to you, but that link from Atlantic Magazine is now behind a firewall or a paywall. So I can't provide it to you. So, and I tried to get to Books3 on my own, and it was like a labyrinth of stuff. And I started thinking these are some sites that I don't want to have my browser go to because who knows what viruses they're downloading. So, but I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I have a Google alert for my name and the name of my title. And every couple of months I get something saying, oh yeah, it's now listed on this site. And that site is a piracy site. So if your books have been pirated, your books have been eaten by AI is just a general rule of thumb. You can also check, this is interesting, haveibeentrained.com. And let's go there. Okay. Haveibeentrained.com, and it says it searches for images, domains, and more. I'm just going to do my name and see what comes up. Oh, a pair of shoes. Okay. So it looks like it's only doing images. These are all image searches that it found. So I don't know if the books themselves have also been trained, but these images have all been used in training. So all of my, and this is my UK version of the balance thing. This is my US version. This is the Penguin version of Speak Now, the Poison Pen Press version of Speak Now. My books in translation don't appear to be on here, but you know, author talk. So anyway, you might want to look up your stuff there, and if you do, okay, I don't know who that is. It's not me. Oddly enough, it seems to be my older stuff. This is the only new book that's up there. Oh no, there are more pages. Oh, there are more pages. Okay, that's not me. This is again the British version of a book. Could not load. I am not shaking hands with the French president. Does anybody want me to search for them?
Yeah, you can search for me.
Okay.
I guess put the M in there, Claire M. Johnson.
Oh, how many Rue Morgues?
That's interesting.
Okay, all your Poison Pen books.
All the Poison Pen books.
And your indie book.
Indie book, yeah. Interesting.
And on page 2, more and more. And then, do you know what the best bug to be is?
I do not know where that is.
Okay. All right.
So all Poison Pen.
Pardon?
All Poison Pen books.
All the Poison Pen books, yeah.
Yeah,
And it's
interesting.
getting a lot of these off of, I mean, it's getting them from Amazon, from Blackstone
Right.
Publishing. Blackstone
That's the
Publishing,
audio company, yeah.
Amazon, CloudFront. Again, Amazon, ABE Books. That's like a
Resale. Yeah,
sale. Yeah.
resale. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. So that's another, you know, if you're interested in, if you've already been scraped, that's another one to maybe look at. Ask your publisher. Ask your publisher if they've sold it or if they know of something. They may be looking at protecting their copyrighted material, so they may have a list. Set up alert on your name to one, look for books like What Happened to Jane Friedman, with something going out under your name that is not yours, and also to see when it's been posted on another piracy site. And then follow the Authors Guild guidelines, and I've got a little link to them here because they're really good guidelines. I'm sorry I keep hopping back and forth here. I know this must be annoying, but AI best practices for authors. And I think this is not in, yeah, I'm not logged in. This is not a members only thing. You can't, here, I'll put the link in the chat without site tracking. Well, I will when we get back and I can. Anyway, but if you choose to use it, how do you use it ethically? What do you disclose to your publisher? What do you disclose to your readers? Disclosing use to Amazon. They're good guidelines. So I would recommend taking a look at that. Let me stop share so I can put that in the chat. Oh, look at all the comments in the chat. Hi. I have not been looking at the chat. Oh, thanks, Vera. You're okay, Vera, you're in Pete's. You have my sympathy. But I hope you have an excellent latte. Okay. Let's see. Okay, I'll go back to sharing. Thank you for bearing with me. Okay. I promise we're gonna get past this and get into the how do we use it for fun stuff soon.
Margaret, just you
Hello?
might want to clarify for people to set up a Google alert. If you
Oh,
haven't done that before, that's a really good way to do it, is to set up a Google alert.
would you mind telling everybody how to do it? Because I've done it, but it was so long ago. I think I've forgotten.
It's so long ago for me as well, but
Yeah.
the main thing that I did was, if you go to Google, you can Google alerts, but
Oh, there you
that's
go.
what, when you say set up an alert, that's for people who are
Oh
unfamiliar
yeah,
with it.
that's what I meant. I'm sorry.
Set up a
Yeah.
Google alert.
Thank you.
I don't recall how to do it either, but I always have one set up for my name and my books.
Yep.
And usually it's something that doesn't matter, but it is something
Usually
that
for
everybody
me, just for
definitely do.
me, it is not usually a glowing New York Times review. Usually it is a notification that it's shown up on a privacy or a piracy site.
Yeah. Usually for me, it's that somebody else has my name and they died in Australia or something.
Oh, okay. That's a
But
good.
anyway, just
Okay.
so people know, Google alerts is the thing they want to do.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you.
You can actually petition Google to take it off a piracy site, but it's so long and involved. After an hour, I gave up. Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, there is a mechanism, or at least there was, but I don't know if you can even do it.
Yeah, they don't make it easy.
No, no.
So okay, if we don't have a lot of advocacy, if there's nothing in legislation, how do we protect ourselves? Read the privacy policies. Read the privacy policies and register. I would say register for the tools that you use, even if you don't do a paid version, because if you register, then they should send you an email notification if and when the privacy policies change. So what you want to be looking at is whether it will use your prompts, the things you type in to ask questions, whether it will use your uploads, if you put some of your content in there to be spell checked or rewritten or whatever, some of the fun stuff we're going to look at in a minute, and whether it uses your responses, the answers that it gives you back, the short stories that it generated a few minutes ago to train its LLM. So that's
what is LLM?
Oh, the large language model.
Okay.
The vast ocean of data that it puts together.
Okay.
Okay. Be mindful if you upload your content. Now, I don't know too much about this, but if you go to copyright.gov, there is a way to register your work in advance of it being published and copyrighted. So if I were going to upload my whole novel, which there are use cases that we're going to get to in a few minutes where that might be a useful thing to do, I would first want to protect it in any way I could, including registering it with copyright.gov or copywriting it or whatever I could do. So take a look at that. I'm not going to go to that link because it's a big government link and it's a pain in the ass. And then you have to make your peace with it. You have to say, is the benefit that I'm getting from using this worth the risk of my content being compromised? And in some cases, maybe. I mean, I don't know if we're all going to be living in a world where, all right, 6 days after my book is out, I know it's been scraped by AI somewhere. So I might as well get the benefit of using AI for this thing or that thing or the other thing. I don't know. But think about it and think about whether the benefits outweigh the risks for you in your particular circumstances for your particular task that you're thinking of using it now. I cannot say there's a blanket position on this. I certainly, everything with me is case by case. Oh, and this is just some examples of privacy policies. I didn't go through all of them because they're horrible and because you should go through the one that you're using yourself. But this is where I started liking Claude a lot, because Claude, first of all, it talks about everything it does not allow in terms of anything harmful to children, any hate speech, all of that stuff is not allowed, and you're going to be kicked off the site. And I loved all of that. And then when it got into the privacy, to the extent permitted by applicable law, not entirely sure what that means, but you retain any right, title, and interest that you have in the prompts, the questions you asked it, that you submit. And subject to the compliance with the terms, we assign you all of our rights, title, and interest in the outputs, which means the response that you get back. So that covers two of the three things we had to check for: the prompt, the response. What it doesn't mention is uploads. And I don't know if it considers an upload part of a prompt, but that is a question I would ask their customer support if I was thinking of uploading anything that I cared about into it. So they may use some of that to develop other products and services, but they will not train our models on any materials that are not publicly available unless, and it got into a whole thing, but unless you submit something in your feedback to the company, which is an explicit mode that you're in, or if it's flagged for content for being hate speech or child pornography or something like that. So Claude definitely seems to be much more upfront about talking to people like us about our concerns than any of the other privacy policies I read. Microsoft Copilot is all about the enterprise. It's about your corporation, you're using Microsoft 365, and this is part of that. So what it says is Copilot with commercial data protection, which is something I have in my day job if I log in through my work email, but something I do not have as I'm logged in here today as just myself. So if you're using that, it doesn't retain your chat data and isn't used to train the underlying large language models. However, since they say Copilot with commercial data protection isn't evil, I would guess that Copilot without commercial data protection is evil and does use it to train its stuff. So that was one of the reasons why Claire and I were talking, I think it was before the meeting started, about would MWA ever be interested in getting an enterprise version of any of these tools so that we could have some of the protections that corporations have by working in that mode. Who knows? Okay, so I think we're past the worst of it, you guys. I think this is past all of the boring stuff, and we're getting into the, well, why would I want to use it anyway? So, do we have any questions first about any of the thank you so much for bearing with me through all of that. I can see you're being sapped of your wills to live right now, and I'm so sorry.
Stop it. Stop it.
We're not.
But it's important. I mean, this is our work. This is important. Yes, Vera, I agree. A priority for MWA should be to establish an AI ethics policy and from there iterate into tactics and strategies. I agree.
Me too.
Yeah, and I hope that we can. I really do. Okay, so how might we use it? Given that we're a little bit worried about all of that stuff, how might we use it? These are you tell me, these are some use cases I came up with. Research. Now last time we talked about how research is a little flaky and you can't always trust the results, but it is useful for some types of research. Writing your marketing and promo copy for you. This to me is like heaven sent. If this can write a query letter for me and I don't have to do it, boy, am I on board. Or I'm really going to think about it. Converting it to a different style, converting it to a different medium. We are going to turn a book into a screenplay right before your very eyes. and generating ideas. Someone last time was talking about they did a prompt and got an idea and thought it was a really good idea, and could they use it? Well, maybe. So let's start playing with these things. Let's talk about research. Don't trust the results for a lot of things. Like Steve last time was talking about, I think he was looking for, was there a dead letter office in a certain year in a certain city? And it said, yes, sure there was. And in fact, there wasn't. So that is something that is a yes, no question, and it got it wrong. For things that are yes, no questions, there are ways to verify. So, and also you can ask a bunch of different AIs, and a lot of them are trained on the same information, so it may give you the same error across the board. But the more you can spread out asking, the more likely it is to be useful information. So it's hit and miss. You may get an accurate answer, you may not, but you may have some it may be helpful even to get an inaccurate answer. At least it may give you a direction to go do some more research. I would say try multiple tools. Verify if you can with another source like a book. And I also think that researching for general information is safer than researching for specific answers. So if I wanted to say, did Mrs. Astor wear a blue gown when she went to the opera on this night in 1892, I would not trust the answer that it gave me. But if I wanted to say what I'm about to say, what are the components of an Edwardian era wealthy lady's formal ball gown, including accessories? I started to write a historical a while ago. It went nowhere, but I did not know the names. I've read historicals, but I did not know necessarily, I know I've read about a chemise, but what exactly is a chemise and where does it go in terms of above or below a corset or bloomers, or does it replace bloomers, or what? I don't know these things. So let's ask. Let's ask. Okay. Let's try ChatGPT. Actually, let's try Copilot. Oh, I already did this in Copilot. Okay. I did this a little while ago, and it says an Edwardian lady's formal ball gown. Oh, I have to tell you, you guys, the reason I'm not doing this over again, the free version of all of these that I have found, all of these tools only give you so many questions per hour or per session or per day or whatever. Like I timed out on Claude after 5 questions. It said you can't ask another question for 5 hours. That's why I did the professional, and now I can ask 15 questions, and then it makes me wait 5 hours. And that's why I didn't type it in again, because I still have this, and that means I've only used up one thing. Copilot used to say something like tokens, you've used your tokens for the day. I think they're getting away from the token terminology, but anyway, just be aware that the free version of these puts limits on how much you can use them during the day. So anyway, here's what Copilot said. There's a bodice, sleeve, skirt, fabric, fine, jewelry, gloves, shawls, hats. This is not what I'm looking for. I know what these things are. I want to know, like, from the skin out, what does a lady wear when she's going to a ball? So if I ask in ChatGPT, I think that's the one where I got a better answer. Bodice, sleeve, skirt, yeah. A corset, undergarments. Look, there's a chemise. That's what's worn next to the skin, between the body and the corset. Okay. Hair and makeup. See, this is giving me so much stuff that then I can go get a book and I know what to look up. You know, and what I did, because I didn't have this, I bought a bunch of books on Edwardian ball gowns and looked at the pretty pictures and decided not to write the book. But then this other thing, bloomers or drawers, it would be interesting to say, were they called bloomers or drawers in London as opposed to New York? You know, that sort of thing. You can probably do that kind of research. Anyway, this is the kind of research. Does anybody have a research question they want to
Yeah,
throw at it?
a super quick comment that there's a thing called Open Router, I think, where you don't get held back on the number of questions you
Really?
can ask.
Really? Now, does that sit on top of one of these things, or is it a competitor to one of these things?
It sits on top of a bunch of different AI tools. So you can actually, I think from within Open Router, I haven't done it yet, but I just asked because I was very frustrated at the limits of the number of things you can ask Claude in an
Yeah.
hour.
Yeah.
And so I asked in a Facebook group I belong to, and they said this thing called Open Router will actually doesn't throttle and gives you access to several different AI tools.
Very cool.
I haven't tried it, and it has a slightly different model where rather than like a monthly fee, you like put some amount of money in their bank and then it subtracts as you use it.
Oh,
I
okay.
mean, I really don't know very much about it, but I do think there are ways around those artificial limits by using a tool that has an API that talks to some of these other talks to various other underlying AI tools.
Okay, cool.
So
Thank
you
you.
might check it out.
Thank you.
Sure.
You I want to ask you to help me teach the next one. You know, so much good stuff. Thank you.
You know where to find me.
Okay. Um, and Vera, you say perplexity is emerging. Perplexity is another tool. Okay, Vera will answer once you can. Oh, AI-powered search engine. Okay. Okay, we'll have to check out Perplexity. Thank you. All right. Does anybody have a research question that they've struggled with or they are struggling with? Do you want to just give it a little go? No? All right. Okay. Then let's get to okay. Here's where we get interesting. I hate doing a synopsis. Now, we can see what it can do in terms of generating a synopsis from the mysterious affair of at Styles, and this is interesting. I want to show you this in ChatGPT first. So we're going to ask it to generate a detailed, oops, point-by-point synopsis of the novel The Mysterious Affair at Styles. This is not really, this is more of a book report. I mean, it's interesting, but this is not something I can send to an agent saying, here's a synopsis of my book. And that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for, how do I not have to write a synopsis of my book? So let's see what Claude does with it. Oh, can't do it because of the risk of reproducing copyrighted material. But it's telling me about it. Bless your heart, Claude. Okay. Let's go back to ChatGPT and ask it something similar, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to, oh, don't tell me ChatGPT, attach file. Is it not going to let me?
You just have to be to the right, I think, a little bit.
No. I got into this mess earlier. Here, let me try just doing this. It's telling me that I've done too much with it today, but I didn't think I had. Okay, let's try it in Copilot. No, because in Copilot, okay, here's what I was going to tell you. I can't upload text in Copilot. I can upload an image, but not text. In Gemini, same thing, I can upload an image. In ChatGPT, what I could do is upload the entire text of The Mysterious Affair at Styles and say, give me a synopsis of this attachment. And it did a much more comprehensive or synopsis of the book. It gave me what I was looking for, the sort of thing you could send your publisher or an agent. So that makes me think, if I want to automatically generate a synopsis that I hate writing myself about my book when I get ready to send it to my agent, would I upload the entire book and have it generate it for me? Would that be, that's one of those things that I was saying, is it worth it to take the risk? I certainly wouldn't do that with seeing how I could protect it, or what kind of protected mode I could be in. I'm sorry, I'm reading some publishers, I'm reading Vera's chat. Some publishers accepting unagented submissions ask for the kit, the synopsis, query, bio, genre, and also the caboodle marketing research, as in demographics of who will buy your book. Oh, ChatGPT really could save your hide for that. ChatGPT could be very useful. Well, here's another thing. Write a query letter. You are Agatha Christie. Write a query letter to your agent describing your new novel. I mean, come on. This is better than pulling your hair out. But this assumes it already knows what The Mysterious Affair at Styles is. If I wanted to do this for mine, I would have to upload my book.
And then it would own it. It could scrape it.
Yes, this is where you have to read your privacy policy. If it flat out owned it, then I would say no, it's not worth it. If it was protected in some way, then maybe I would upload it. Yeah. So really useful, but also really risky. Thoughts on all of this? Okay.
One thing I've done that I hate writing blurbs.
Yeah.
Hate them. Hate writing blurbs. But if you write a crappy blurb and then you put it in, you're not really risking, uploading your whole novel, but you can put your bad blurb in and have it ask it to write you a blurb. And I have found that it writes some very fabulous blurbs without a lot of risk of losing your control of your content.
That's a great idea. Yeah, because I hate doing the jacket copy, the synopsis, all of that sort of stuff. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna try that. Not right here. Okay, let's go back to this. Is there anything else we want to do? Write a query letter. We just did that. Oh, what about writing guest blogs? Do we hate writing guest blogs? Okay, you are Agatha Christie, and you're going to not tell Janet Rudolph that you're using AI to write a blog for the Mystery Fanfare site. So let's try that. And share a writing tip. So what you want to do in the blog is promote your work and share a writing tip. So there you go. There's a blog post. And I think I did this in Claude as well, and it did let me do this. Um, nope. Okay. Claude is just being a little temperamental today. No, it's giving, no, it's back to synopsis. No, it's not having it. It's just not having it. Okay, we could try it with another one, but you get the idea.
I'll try it with my Claude because it seems to like me.
Okay. Maybe mine's jealous that I've got 4 different AI tools open at the same time.
You don't have to wait on me.
Okay.
I'll get back to you.
Oh, okay. All right, let's move on from marketing and publicity to what I call style conversions. So I've got one chapter of the mysterious ferret styles. And I'm just going to put that in. I'm just going to put that in ChatGPT because that's what's playing with me today. I'm going to add, oh, I'm not going to attach it. Okay, tell you what I can do is I can open that chapter because it's just a chapter. I'm so sorry, you guys. Here's the
While
chapter.
you're doing this, I went into Chat GBT and I just said, write as Glenda Carroll and write a short story, mystery. And they said something about they have no idea who I am, but they know that I write about the water, maybe because of some of the names of the books that are connected to my name. And they came up with the first sort of 2 pages of about someone whose friend is, their boat has sunk and the person is missing. And it's actually not bad, and it's called Deadly Waters. And one of the names of my books is Dead in the Water. So it's very interesting how they take what's there and come up with something that's plausible.
It is. It really is.
Yeah.
Okay, I just copied the first part of the letter Claude wrote me. It's not letting me do all of it because it says it's too long,
Okay.
but
That sounds like Agatha Christie.
it's pretty sweet.
You're
She's
gonna get your
pretty
feet done?
cheerful.
Good.
Here, I'll just do the last one. There's a writing tip at
What
the
color
end.
polish are you gonna have?
Let me see if I can send you the writing tip.
The warm water?
There you go. Oh, it says it's
Oh,
too long.
everything but the polish. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Well, one toe, maybe you could have one.
There we go.
Oh, there you go.
Art of misdirection is crucial in crafting. Anyway, it's all there in the chat.
Ah, okay.
The
Which
origin
is
history.
a different tip than ChatGPT gave.
Until our next literary rendezvous. I love it.
Okay, Agatha. Yeah, interesting. Interesting. So I think, I think it'll be interesting if you guys want to start working with this. I know for myself, the more you play with it, you more get a sense of the personality of the different tools. And I kind of like Claude's personality at this point. Okay, so I'm going to try something. I just have a section of dialogue. And I'm going to say, instead of the chapter, let's go. Where are we? We're in Firefox. Oh, we're still in Firefox. What are you guys seeing? What am I sharing?
The original story in Dumas style, Claude.
You're in Claude.
Yeah.
I'm in Claude. Okay.
Uploaded chapter 1.
There we go. Okay. Okay. Okay, I don't want to do that up. after all. I want to say rewrite. Why is it not letting me do anything? Can I not delete? Okay. What I have is a section of dialogue from Mysterious and Varied Styles. I should have picked something with a shorter name. Okay, and then I will just paste in. Here's a more comedic rewrite. Oh, not great jokes, but it is putting in jokes. Jokes, sarcasm, playful banter. And it sort of outlines what it does. Now, interesting. TikTok, AirPods, Twitter, only murders in the building. Like a game of Among Us. It's laying it on a bit thick, I think, with the making it nearly dropping her green smoothie instead of her cup of tea. Can you guys see this?
Yeah,
Mhm.
Okay.
yeah.
So it's interesting. I mean, it's powerful. I guess this is all that I'm saying. I'm showing you the same thing over and over and over again, which is basically to say its ability to rewrite for tone and for time and for level and for all of that sort of stuff is really interesting. Claire knows that I wrote something that I first took it very dark, and then I took it much lighter, and all of that was a lot of rewriting for me. And I wonder if I could have just put it in and said, make this less comedic. I don't know. Sorry, you guys. Excuse me. Okay, so format conversions. Rewrite the attached scene as a screenplay. Let's try that in here. I'll say the following, so we don't have to do it. By the way, I tried to do this with a whole book, and it did an excellent job, but it only gave me a, oh, here we go. So that scene with the dialogue is now a screenplay.
We can't see it.
We
Yeah.
can't see it, Margaret.
Oh, I'm so sorry. It generated this. Interior Styles Court drawing room afternoon. So that's interesting. So what if I said, I tried to do the whole book as a screenplay, and it wouldn't let me because there was just too much of it. So what if I first say, rewrite the attached novel as a short story? Thinking.
I asked Claude how long it likes to work, what its range of words were that were most effective. And it told me 1,000 to 1,500 at a time. That
Interesting.
was sort of
Okay.
its chunk
Okay.
that
Yeah,
it
that makes
it likes
sense.
to work with for
Yeah.
whatever that's worth. Because I was finding it was writing very short things, and I was like, "What's your limit?" And it said
Yeah.
unlimited. However, I have a preference towards these shorter chunks.
Okay.
So that's what I've been doing, is just trying to write in, having it write in these sort of,
Yeah, it's much happier with a scene or with a chapter than with a
yeah.
But in this case, it did take the whole book and
Wow.
turned it into a short story this long.
But it's not really a short story. It's more like the synopsis you were looking for. At least what I'm looking at.
Oh my God, you're right.
Super short, yeah.
It's not a short story.
Well, maybe I shouldn't call it a synopsis. Maybe I should say, write the short story of this.
Yeah, because this is a very, very succinct synopsis. It's great.
It is a
It
short
is.
story.
That's better
Justice
than
was
any of the other synopses. Yeah.
justice was served and peace returned to Styles Court at last.
Huh. Okay. It's a very short movie. But anyway, I mean, there's a lot of power there. There's a lot of power there. And I think we're winding up, you guys. Okay. Turn the attached novel, turn the short story into a screenplay, and then prompts. You've probably all done this. We probably don't all need to do this. But I was in the park the other day and I saw a broken toy, an empty backpack, and a broken fork. And I just came and said, write a short story with that. And I did it in all 4 of the things, and it gave me different short stories, none of which sucked. And then I said, you're Jane Austen, with the same prompt. And it gave me a totally different, in each case, it gave me a totally different story, and it sounded very Jane Austen-y. And
So
then I did,
you wouldn't have a backpack in 19th century England.
no, it was a reticule.
Okay, okay.
changed it.
Yes,
They
okay.
changed it, yeah. So that's fun. I mean, I think a lot of people started saying, oh, write something in the voice of Stephen King or Jane Austen, or, something really, as soon as ChatGPT came out. I think that was the first thing we all started experimenting with. But I don't know, it might be if you're blocked, if you're feeling like you're not getting anything, it might be just a way to shake something loose.
I tried that with, I was thinking what I was writing about was just getting a little too heavy. And I asked give me some amusing, funny descriptions of the Golden Gate Bridge. And nothing was particularly outstanding, but I found that I could use one little scenario, change it a bit, and it worked, but then I had this dilemma is, should I be doing this? This did not come from my mind. It came from, data. And I used it. It was, no more than a line, and I changed it around, but I still have that guilt feeling of doing this. I don't know how to deal with that.
No, it's interesting because, like, I was looking for synonyms for a term when I wrote this book like 5 years ago, and I'm like brushing it off now and starting to send it out. And
Yeah.
I was looking for synonyms for the devil. I wanted to have different ways of saying the devil, like the horned one and Old Scratch and all that. So at the time, years ago, I Googled what are folklore terms for the devil.
Yeah.
And I got this whole list of them, and I peppered them through the book, and I did not feel guilty about it at all. If I
Right.
did that today in AI, I would feel like I had to disclose it and I would feel guilty about it. I would feel like I was cheating.
Yeah.
Is that rational? I don't know.
That's
that-
exactly the way I felt. It's like, well, it's something that maybe was 10 words long, in a book of 82,000 words. Do I have to say I used AI? I just don't know. Or do
Well,
I just
okay,
make
and
it up?
that gets us to the last slide I've got. The last slide I've got, you guys. Okay, there's something called a transparency statement. And the Authors Guild has recommendations on this, but this guy Kester Bruin put it, I think, very well. He put something at the beginning of his book, right by the acknowledgements page, that is a transparency statement, and he says if text has been generated, improved, suggested, or corrected, and he is upfront with his reader. And I kind of feel like, okay, I didn't feel like I had to do that when I Googled terms for the devil.
Right.
But if I AI'd terms for the devil, maybe I would say, some text has been suggested. I don't know, but I don't know.
Yeah.
This doesn't get into research because I think of that more as research. So I think we need to think about what might go, and this might be an excellent thing for MWA to take a position on, is what do they recommend in a transparency statement? And whether research falls under this as well, because he doesn't have research on this.
Margaret, we're coming up on 2 hours here, so I think that might be the length of the recording.
Okay, and that's
I
just my
think.
last slide, except to say, join me next time if you can possibly take it anymore.
No, it's been
It's
great.
great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I think at 2 hours, we
all of
turn into
you.
pumpkins. We turn into pumpkins. Thanks for coming, everyone. I
Oh,
really
and Vera
appreciate it.
just made a really good point about a distinction between assistive AI and generative AI. Thank you, Vera. Yes, excellent point.
Okay. All right,
Okay.
guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.